In any event, more than one woman guest had given him some pretty broad hints, and he'd let them slide right on past. Not because they might be spotters. He just hadn't been interested. In his sea of troubles, there'd been no room for women. Then, last night. Dusty yawned, glanced at the clock, and swung his feet out of bed. For a moment, he remained perched on the edge of the mattress, absently wiggling his toes against the semi-cool bare floor. Then he stood up and padded into the bathroom. He took a quick, cold shower. He came out of the shower stall and began to shave. Even with his face lathered, tautened, and twisted to receive the strokes of the razor, he was good-looking and, more important, intelligent-looking. As a youngster, when the other kids had dubbed him with such hateful titles as Pretty Boy and Dolly, he had detested those good looks. And while he had eventually become resigned to them, he had always resented them. They could get him nothing he wanted, nothing. With 10 years of college study to complete that he had time for. After all, he was going to be a doctor, not an actor. A year ago, he had gone to work at the Manton, and gradually, through the months since then, it had been borne home to him that he was never going back to college, that he would never be a doctor. But that had not changed his attitude about his appearance. It set him apart from the other employees, at once arousing their resentment and precluding the anonymity which he sought. It brought unwanted and dangerous attentions from certain of the women guests. It spelled nothing but trouble, and he was already knee-deep in trouble. Then, last night had come, and for the first time in his life he was glad that he was as he was. After he had seen her, after what had happened last night. He dashed water over his face, dried it, stood frowning at himself in the medicine cabinet mirror. Silently, he advised his image to forget last night. A dame like that didn't go for bellboys. She might tease you along a little, but that would be the end of it. Or if it wasn't the end of it, if you could actually get a tumble from her, what of it? Nothing. Just a big fat headache. He might not be able to drop her, and he certainly couldn't hang on to her. For something he couldn't really have, just a taste of something that would leave him hungrier than ever, he'd risk losing his job. Maybe something a hell of a lot worse than that. He returned to the bedroom and started to dress. Gray trousers, black and white sports shoes, blue shirt, and black tie. He donned a blue flannel coat, tucked a white handkerchief into the breast pocket. He buttoned the second button absently, still worrying. Step by step, he thought back over last night's events. According to her registry card, her name was Marcia Hillis, and she was from Dallas, Texas. Dusty supposed that she must have hit town on the 11:55 train since she arrived at the hotel a little after midnight, a few minutes after he had gone to work. He swung the cab door open for her, lifting her luggage from the driver's compartment. Then, he stepped across the walk to the lobby entrance, at this door without its doorman, and pulled open the door there. Smiling perfunctorily, he turned and waited for her. She finished paying and tipping the driver. She came out of the dark interior of the cab and into the bright lights of the marquee. Dusty blinked. His heart popped up into his throat, then bounced down into the pit of his stomach. He almost dropped her luggage. Sure, he'd seen some good-looking women before, at the Manton and away from it. He'd seen them, and they'd made it pretty obvious that they saw him. But he'd never come up against anything like this. A woman who was not just one, but all women. That was the way he thought of her, right from the first moment. All women, the personification, the refined best of them all. She was 20, she was 30, she was 60. Her face with the serene brown eyes and the deliciously curling lips. She was 20 in the face, but without the vacuousness which often goes with 20. Her body, compactly mature, was that of a woman of 30, but with none of 30's sometime flabbiness. Her hair was 60. He thought of it that way. Or rather, what 60 is portrayed as being in story and picture. Completely gray. Gray but soft and lustrous, not the usual dead, crackling harshness of gray. She wore it in a long, gleaming bob which almost brushed the shoulders of her tailored suit. He stared down at it as she passed him, and then still half-dazed, he followed her into the lobby. Apparently she had something of the same effect on Bascom, the room clerk, that she had on him, for he was shoving a registration card across the desk and extending a fountain pen while she was still a dozen feet away. That was so unusual as to be unheard of. Dusty couldn't remember when Bascom had rented a room to an unescorted woman. He got a kick out of turning them down. With Miss Marcia Hillis.